You're listening to Locked On Now NHL, local experts on the biggest stories across the NHL. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens, and thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. On today's show, we've got recaps from 7 games across the league as the first week of the season continues to have big surprises across the NHL.
The biggest game.
Now, the biggest game of the night, the Florida Panthers staying perfect on the season with a 4-1 win over the Avalanche last night. With more on that win to make the Panthers 4-0, Locked On Panthers host Armando Velez joins us with more.
Up against the team who is favored to win the Stanley Cup at plus 500, no problem for these Florida Panthers. What is up, guys? This is Armando Velez from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and the Florida Panthers just defeated the Colorado Avalanche by the final score of 4-1. Their third straight game where they only allow 1 goal to the opposition. So defensively, the Florida Panthers have just been great. And after giving up 4 goals in game 1, only 1 goal in each of their last 3. Sergei Bobrovsky goes 30 for 31, and his save percentage is going up. His goals against average is going down for his 300th win in his career. The Florida Panthers as well defensively have been clogging the slot, not allowing many quality shots from the Colorado Avalanche. Anton Lundell, another 2-point game, his second 2-point game in a row for the Florida Panthers, and goes 65% from the face-off circle. Majority of minutes on the penalty kill, clearing pucks often, pickpocketing many Colorado Avalanche players in their own zone as well to create opportunities on Jonas Johansson. And Mason Marchment also gets 2 assists in this game early on. There were many times that he had breakaways against Johansson, but Cale Makar broke them up early. But there was one that led to the Sam Reinhart goal, his first as a Panther, where he was racing, avoiding an icing, and he wins the board battle and sets up Sam Reinhart for that first goal. Sam Bennett also gets a goal in this one, where it was a questionable penalty on Mikko Rantanen on a goalie interference on Sergei Bobrovsky, which maybe kind of changed the momentum of the game, but you take that if you're the Florida Panthers. Carter Verhaeghe also gets on the board to get his 3rd goal of the season, and Anton Lundell tops it off with an empty netter. So to listen to my episode of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, your first listen of the day.
On the other side of things, the losers of this one, and for the 3rd time in their first 4 games, the Colorado Avalanche have a lot to figure out. They're coming into the season with one of the strongest rosters in the league, but the slow start continues for them. For more on why that's the case, Locked On Avalanche host Chris Maselli.
How's it going, everyone? Chris from Locked On Avalanche here, talking about the Colorado Avalanche losing their 3rd game of the season and their 3rd game in a row. They started the year with a win against Chicago, and since then, they haven't been able to win one. And I guess you could take a positive out of this in that the effort for this game against the Florida Panthers was much better than the effort that was a couple days ago against the Washington Capitals. That game, the Avalanche just seemed absolutely lost. And this one, they had their big 3 top line together for the first time all year with Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Gabe Landeskog, and they looked better. The couple bad calls that did not go in the favor of the Avalanche, I don't want to say that's their undoing. Some bad calls is not what's wrong with this team right now. There's a lot wrong that they need to fix. The defense did look a little bit better. The goaltending was actually pretty good. The Avs had some chances. They just seem to run out of gas. But they do seem to slowly, each game, get a little bit more of all of the pieces of the puzzle together. Now they're just waiting on Devon Taves to come back. But overall, they have the majority of their team there. They really should be playing better than they are. And I don't think anybody's concerned that they won't get there. But it's a little bit frustrating right now for Colorado Avalanche fans and the team itself. Doesn't get any easier. Finish off this road trip. They go to Tampa, and they got to at least salvage 1 game from this 3-game road trip, because right now, 3 in a row is not where the Avalanche.
two teams who hadn't lost in regulation yet this season met on the ice in New Jersey last night. The Washington Capitals ended up continuing that streak with a 4-1 win over the Devils, and Locked On Capitals host Tyler Kuhl was pumped up after the big win.
And put that one in the win column as well. Hello, everyone. I am Tyler Kuhl, the insider to the insiders and the host of Locked On Capitals here on the Locked On Podcast Network. The Washington Capitals in their first road game of the season at The Rock in Newark because, it's a Prudential Center, it's a mountain. They beat the New Jersey Devils 4-1 tonight. Looking good early on. New Jersey made things interesting, but Vitek Vanacek had another great game in net, guys. 24 saves. Yeah, he gives up the power play goal, but he looked solid. He once again didn't have a massive workload, but that save on Jimmy Vesey, though, right after the goal, holy smokes. And also the star of the game, Daniel Sprong. What a game he had in this one. A goal and an assist. He's a solid defensive guy. I mentioned that he's due for a breakout year after scoring 13 goals last year for Washington. And a beautiful goal as well, tipping it on by Dougie Hamilton. $60+ million Dougie Hamilton, making him look like a $5 million defenseman. Opens up Mackenzie Blackwood like a bad filing cabinet, puts last year's taxes in there and shoves them in there and says, I don't need to see these ever again. Big part of the 4-1 win. Now the Caps are 3-1 going into Calgary on Saturday afternoon. Going on against Calgary on Saturday afternoon, Certainly a game that the Caps could win because the Calgary Flames are doing a little bit of this because they look good again tonight against the New Jersey Devils.
The Devils lost for the first time this season. How the Capitals were able to score 4 goals on them, Locked On Devils host has that answer.
What's up? This is Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils, and here is my post-game reaction. So, the New Jersey Devils lost their first game of the year to the Washington Capitals by a score of 4-1. Dating back to last season, we have now lost 9 straight to the Capitals organization. I can't remember the last time we beat them. And unfortunately, we were pretty much behind the 8 ball before the puck even dropped because we're missing our starting and our backup goaltenders. So we're missing Mackenzie Blackwood and Jonathan Bernier, who are both out with injury. Ty Smith is still out. Miles Wood is still out. And as we all know, the main guy, Jack Hughes, dislocated his shoulder in the last game against the Seattle Kraken. So he's going to be out for some time. So the New Jersey Devils, unfortunately, we just weren't at full strength to compete with the Washington Capitals, and we gave up a goal within the first 5 minutes. So like I said, we pretty much lost it after period number 1. There was no chance we were going to come back, and we just showed no fight. We showed some fight briefly in period number 2, but unfortunately it was just not enough as Vanacek was making a few nice saves. The defense for the Capitals just, were able to defuse some attacks by the New Jersey Devils, and we were able to get a power play goal in the 3rd period thanks to Yanni Kuokkanen, and Dawson Mercer now has a point in his first 3 NHL career starts. So there's that, but overall, not too many takeaways for the New Jersey Devils. We just looked too anxious. We didn't really have any fight back, and unfortunately, when you're missing a lot of key guys, it's really hard to compete with a team like the Washington Capitals. So we're just going to have to rebound against the Buffalo Sabres and see what we can do on Saturday.
Undefeated Carolina Hurricanes traveled to Montreal to take on the winless Canadiens. Locked On Hurricanes host Jared Ellis joins us with a recap of a big road win for the Canes.
Hey there, Caniacs. Jared Ellis here, host of Locked On Hurricanes. And tonight was Jesperi Kotkaniemi's return to Montreal ever since he came to Raleigh with the offer sheet. And a lot of people were wondering, would the Hurricanes get the dub tonight up in Montreal? And the answer to that was we. They absolutely did. Heading into tonight's game, the Hurricanes were undefeated. The Canadiens had not yet won a game, and it stays that way. The Hurricanes ended up winning this game 4-2. Kotkaniemi got his first goal of the season and his first goal as a Carolina Hurricane as well. You couldn't have scripted a better way to do this than up in Montreal. Sebastian Aho also scored 2 goals in this game. And of course, we all know about the offer sheet history with him. And the Hurricanes were 1-for-1 on their power play. Frederik Andersen was also outstanding tonight and continues to impress me after a pretty meh season opener. So loving seeing that. Freddie got the 3rd star of the game, Svech the 2nd, and Aho the 1st. Now the Hurricanes look to take on the Columbus Blue Jackets in their next matchup on Saturday. So that should be really, really fun. But until then, make sure you tune in to Locked On Hurricanes for all of your Carolina podcast needs.
Now, coming up, we'll have more from across the NHL. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday. Welcome back to Locked On Now. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens, and thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every weekday.
Let's go around the league.
First, we're going to check in with an old school gritty one in Ottawa as the Senators took on San Jose. Locked On Sharks host J.D. Young tells us how the team was able to sneak out of town with a hard-fought win.
The Sharks keep their good vibes going. I'm JD Young of Locked On Sharks, and the Sharks win 2-1 in a very, very scrappy game against the Ottawa Senators. A game that featured a lot of physical play, a lot of hits, and Tomas Hertl going full Tomas Hertl on some of the Senators players. James Reimer looked very good in his debut with giving up just one goal. And the Sharks, although they didn't play their best game, they were able to hold on thanks to the veteran players like Kevin LeBanc and Logan Couture's goals and the play of Tomas Hertl. We'll have a full breakdown of today's game on tomorrow's show. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, such as Apple, Spotify, and Odyssey. And of course, you can always subscribe on YouTube. So make sure you guys are locked in here for Locked On Sharks.
Bonus hockey in Columbus Thursday night. According to Locked On Islanders host Gil Martin, the Isles were lucky to sneak out with a point in their matchup against the Blue Jackets.
Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders here. Islanders fall to the Columbus Blue Jackets 3-2 in overtime. Really fortunate to get 1 point. I'll tell you, this team still doesn't look organized. They still don't look like they're on top of their game. And here's a big concern that I have after the first 4 games of the season. This Islanders defense may be a little bit too slow to be efficient in this league. I mean, Zdeno Chara, Scotty Mayfield, even Pelech and Pulak, Andy Green, all 5 of them. Quality defensemen, but not a lot of speed out there. The only one who has speed is Noah Dobson, and they don't fully trust Dobson just yet in big situations. And that may be a problem for the Islanders down the road if Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz don't address it. But right now, this Islanders team not playing their A game, and they can't win the way they've been playing so far this year. For more, listen to the Locked On Islanders podcast with me, Gil Martin, wherever you get podcasts.
The Rangers continue their success away from Madison Square Garden as they got a big road win in Nashville. Locked On Rangers host John Chick joins us now with more.
Hey, what is going on, hockey fans? It's John Chick with Locked On New York Rangers, here to talk about the 3rd consecutive road win for the New York Rangers. And just like the previous 2, the Rangers go into Nashville and they post just a low-scoring, grinded-out kind of win against a tough Nashville Predators team. The Rangers win the game 3-1. There's a lot of things that this team could be doing better right now, and I'll actually repeat something that I tweeted after tonight's game ended. The Rangers have in 5 games here, and mind you, they are 3-1-1 and have won 3 consecutive games here, have only scored 8 regulation goals in those 5 games. That does not include the 2 empty netters, but that'll give you an idea of where the offense is right now. Just, obviously they're hurting a little bit, not having Capo Caco, not having Ryan Strome, but the power play has been completely anemic, just 2 for 20, and it once again, as it has in these last 2 wins, this game basically just turned into the Igor Shesterkin show. I will say, you got to give a shout out to the Rangers' second line. The Rangers went with the strategy of stacking the top line with Mika centering Panarin and Kreider, and then of course the second line kind of picks up the slack tonight. Hito, Lafreniere, and Blais accounting for the first 2 Ranger goals, including Alexis Lafreniere getting the game winner. Really, really nice to see Lafreniere picking up some points early in the season this year. Obviously, that's an area where he struggled last year, and nice to see him get his second game-winning goal of the young season here for the Rangers. So, look, it's not perfect. Obviously, they're struggling to score some goals right now, but these are character wins that the Rangers are getting, and the hope is that this young team just gets a little bit tougher, and this bodes well for them down the road here, because these have been some really tough, hard-nosed wins that the Rangers have posted 3 in a row now, and obviously this beats last season when the Rangers started 3-1.
That's a wrap for us. For more on your favorite teams in hockey, follow your team's Locked On NHL podcast for insight, analysis, everything you need to know every weekday. I'm Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On Now your first listen every day.